For today's show, I am your host Sana Sultan, and I will be discussing the current situation in Gaza with a friend and fellow activist, Harry Fear. But I have Harry with me now. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Radio Ikhlas, Harry.
Thank you, Salam, and thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome. Me and Harry will be talking about the current situation in Gaza. As you will have noticed or known, that there is a attack on Gaza happening as we speak, and since Thursday evening there has been bombing of the people of Gaza, and this has been said to have been happening because a Palestinian occupied town was attacked and some Israeli people were killed in this town, and for this reason now the Gaza Strip is being bombed. Harry, do you know anything more about why Gaza is being bombed at the moment?
Yeah, I just add to that I think the reason is that we can go back a little bit further in context. I think that there was basically an attempt at sort of resistance, essentially. I mean, the Israelis obviously called it a terrorist attack against what I believe is a military vehicle in the south of Israel.
Yeah.
And I believe perhaps up to a dozen Israelis were killed, including some civilians. And essentially, the politicians in Israel decided that they would need, if you like, to attack Gaza, regardless of actually finding out first who was responsible for the attack. So, I mean, it's come out recently that they don't really know who is responsible, but they basically just assassinated a leader of a particular resistance group in Gaza anyway, basically, which I believe is to maintain their head above water politically in Israel, because they have to look like they're doing something, basically. Unfortunately, of course, dozens of Palestinians get either killed or injured as a result.
Yeah. Well, before this attack took place, it was confirmed by Gaza's militants that they had denied involvement in the attacks in southern Israel. So Israel basically is attacking Gaza without any concrete evidence that there was a Gazan movement that was attacking that attacked the military vehicle in southern Israel.
Yeah, that's right. They said that Kalashnikovs were used in the attack, and that their intelligence pointed towards Gazan militants using these Kalashnikovs, and therefore they thought it was Gazan groups. But I mean, to be honest, Kalashnikov is a weapon all of your listeners will have heard of, so it's not like a particularly one-off weapon.
Yeah, it's not a weapon that is particularly used in Gaza alone. That's a weapon that's used worldwide in resistance movements.
Exactly.
And also it's been linked to the friction between the Egyptians and the Israelis at the moment, and the things that are kicking off in the Sinai desert.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And some Egyptian military forces were some of the members of the Egyptian military were killed in attacks on Sinai yesterday.
Yeah. I believe at the moment there are perhaps up to hundreds of Egyptians demonstrating outside the Israeli embassy, probably in Cairo, basically calling for the ambassador to be recalled to Israel after this. I think a lot of Egyptians are very angry that Egyptian policemen can basically be killed on Egyptian territory.
Yeah, there have been reports that there are hundreds of people outside the Israeli embassy in Egypt demanding for the Israeli ambassador to leave, and there's been reports that the Israeli ambassador has said that he is not going to leave Egypt, and he has demanded that Egypt provide him with more security.
Ironic, isn't it? No security for the Palestinians, unfortunately.
No, unfortunately not. So since Thursday night, for reasons that are not yet confirmed, because we can't say that the attack on southern Israel was from Gazan forces, because they have denied any involvement in this. Gaza has been shelled. The death toll is rising, and there have been quite a few attacks on Gaza since Thursday night. The Egyptian policemen were killed in a in gunfire near the Israeli-Egyptian border, and 15 were killed as in Syria. 15 were killed as there was a crackdown on protest. Amnesty told Israelis that Israelis and Palestinians must refrain from harming civilians, and Hamas has abandoned their ceasefire with Israel. Airstrikes were reported in southern Gaza, and Abbas has requested an emergency session of the Security Council. 12 rockets have been fired towards Israel. Now, this is showing that the violence has not only been from one side, but it's escalated. What was previously known as a ceasefire has now been abandoned, and it's like they made them want to fight back when previously it was relatively calm, if you could call it that.
Exactly. It's almost like they're trying to provoke some sort of reaction. As a friend of mine put it a while ago, that if you put a man in a cage and start poking him and shooting bullets at him, he's going to start screaming after a while and start throwing stuff back. And that's really what's happening.
Yeah. It is. It's like they've provoked more military movements against Israel from the Gaza Strip, and they are also killing millions of, it's not millions yet, but they are attacking innocent civilians in Gaza once again for no apparent reason.
I think, actually, ironically, millions of people do feel like they're being attacked. I think humanity is being attacked here.
Yes, definitely. It's not an attack on the people of Gaza alone, it's an attack on humanity. And I know I, for one, since this has been happening, have felt really helpless. I want to get out there and do something physically to stop this, because we knew what was going to happen in Gaza. They had said that they were going to attack Gaza before it actually happened. None of us could do anything about it.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. There is definitely a feeling of helplessness. I interviewed Tony Benn a couple of months ago, and I asked him, what can we do? Activists, people of conscience, what can we do in a case where we're starting to feel cynical and helpless? And he said, I thought it was good, he said, we must act, because action is the catalyst for hope. And I thought that was good.
Definitely is. And I think that since these attacks have been happening, I think more and more people have understood what is happening in Gaza, and the awareness has been amplified, if you like, and more people are aware of what's going on, so more people are speaking against it, and that's always brilliant to see.
It's true.
I believe you've got a poem to read to us.
I have. It's called Death, which is unfortunately appropriate, and it's a poem written by a hero of mine. He's now dead, actually, but he's called Harold Pinter. I'd like to dedicate the reading to Islam Kraki. I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation, but he's a 5-year-old Gazan child that was killed by Israel last night in a strike on the Gaza Strip.
This was in Khan Yunis, I believe. He was killed whilst he was returning home on the back of his father's motorbike.
Probably, indeed, indeed. I'll read the poem now.
Okay.
Where was the dead body found? Who found the dead body? Was the dead body dead when found? How was the dead body found? Who was the dead body? Who was the father or daughter or brother or uncle or sister or mother or son of the dead and abandoned body? Was the body dead when abandoned? Was the body abandoned? By whom had it been abandoned? Was the dead body naked or dressed for a journey? What made you declare the dead body dead? Did you declare the dead body dead? How well did you know the dead body? How did you know the dead body was dead? Did you wash the dead body? Did you close both its eyes? Did you bury the body? Did you leave it abandoned? Did you kiss the dead body? I think it's a good poem.
It's definitely quite moving. I mean, I'm a poet myself, and I've always been moved by the power of words, and these words in particular are really moving and quite striking, especially given the current situation that we're discussing. And when you think about it, how many people are going through that exact situation as we speak because of this unnecessary violence?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's sad. I think the poem, obviously the poem will have effect on everyone in different ways, but for me, the effect of that poem is to underscore the fact that when you start killing innocent people, every person has family members.
Yeah.
And as a Palestinian said a few years ago, the Palestinian boy whose mother is humiliated in the morning will be a suicide bomber in the evening. And that is what's going to happen this week. When innocent Palestinians are killed, there's going to be resistance, and more people are going to get killed.
It's almost as if we're forcing them to take this life, we're forcing them to take up this path.
Yeah.
Because violence only leads to more violence.
Yeah.
I've got a poem now that's linked to Palestine. It's just a few lines. I'm going to read it, and then we're going to move on to talking about the attack on the Mavi Marmara that took place last year, and inspired me to do what I do today.
Right.
It's called I Hope Through My Words You Relate to Me. May the 15th, 530 villages depopulate. The IDF do worse today, and that was 1948. Gaza's crying in the Middle East, but has the world moved? The UN can't do anything until Obama has approved. What do you know of the blockade on the Gaza Strip? No, my heart goes out to those on each and every ship. May the 31st, the day not aid but blood reach the shores. Respect to the buried, whose legacies will see an end to the wars. Rachel Corrie's now a sign of courage and goodwill, and she was too a girl with a great dream to fulfill. She died as she tried to save a family home from destruction, killed by the same people guilty of war crimes, death and abduction. So to the children of Palestine, I'm not going to forget you. One day I hope I can proudly speak of the times that I met you.
It's a great poem.
Thank you, Harry. So the attack on the Mavi Marmara that happened on May the 31st last year, the Mavi Marmara was part of the Freedom Flotilla that was taking aid to Gaza.
Yeah.
And for me, when this attack happened, that kind of sparked the fire for me. That's what made me do what I do today, and that was the reason why I write my poetry, why I'm on here today talking about Gaza, because it was such a breach of humanity and there was no justice done.
It's true. It's ironic, but it's good that terrible events can spark good action, and that's what our hope lies in.
Definitely. Assata Shakur said that hope is only given to us because of those who it was taken from.
That's great.
So Harry, why do you have such interest in the attack that took place on the Mavi Marmara last year?
For me, I could have been one of the people on the ship. I wasn't. My friends were on the ships. But in another year, I may be one of the people on those ships.
Yeah.
These were ordinary people, peace activists, people who had a heart, who were doing the right thing, who were courageous and heroic. And they were people, as I said, like you and me, and they were attacked at night. They had their communications cut off. There's no way they could record the event. And 9 of them were killed and dozens injured. And it was brutal. And what was worse was that then the way it was reported was so unjust as well. So there was never any justice.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I remember when I was watching the media coverage of the reports from the Mavi Marmara, and for me at that time, I was just starting off. I wasn't used to watching media reports on any incident such as this, and even I could see the huge bias in the reports. The video footage that was used on the reports was from the IDF, and, well, the BBC's impartiality was clearly shown whilst the reporting of this attack happened.
Yeah, it was very disturbing, the reporting, and in a way it was good because it sparked a whole load of controversy about the BBC and its reporting, which obviously they feign impartiality and unbiased reporting, and it was glaringly false in this, which I think is good again because it raises awareness about the fact that when we turn on BBC News, we can't expect to hear the truth anymore, basically.
Yeah, definitely. And again, when we talk about events like this, the positive that comes out of this is the people who stand up and speak out against this, because Loki says that when you kill one man, 100 rise in his place.
Yes.
Mhm.
It's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand that on the Mavi Marmara, 9 Turkish people lost their lives, and when the ship was returned to Turkey, it had its bullet holes painted over and had been renovated by Israel.
Unbelievable. They don't even sort of feign to do the right thing. They're more than happy to sort of be quite arrogant, actually, in the way that they make lies and rewrite history.
Definitely. I understand that now the Mavi Marmara is going to be turned into a museum by the Turkish people.
It's great. It's great. Hopefully the martyrs' lives will not be forgotten with this.
I hope not. And I think it's great that Turkey are taking this initiative forward and building something that will be a memorial for the lives of these 9 human beings who were going forward to do something good, who were doing something that our governments have failed to do, and who were taking the lives of the Gazan people into their own hands by taking this peaceful movement of ships over there with aid to help them.
Yeah.
And I know that whenever I speak and whenever I do the things that I do, I will remember these people, because it is this event that sparked everything that I do today.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, there was a young man killed who was basically our age-ish, an American Turkish young man, and last time I checked, the United States still has not. This is the leader of the free world, of course, who believes in human rights, has still not officially acknowledged the death of this American peace activist who was killed by Israel. In fact, he was summarily executed according to the United Nations fact-finding mission.
Oh, great. Well, the US still haven't done anything about the death of Rachel Corrie, which happened so many years ago now, and the case for Rachel Corrie, justice for Rachel Corrie, is still happening, and they're still going around the same circles again and again, and nothing's being done.
It's it's unbelievable that the BBC and organisations which are meant to report important events like this completely fail and basically starve ordinary people in this country of understanding about these unbelievable injustices that should completely grab all of our attention.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, these days, if you want some decent information or something, if you want to know about the events happening in places like Palestine, in what's going on in Syria today, and even the truth of what's happening on the ground in Libya, the best place to go is the internet and to read reports that are coming straight off the ground.
Yes. May I actually just give the name of a couple of news organisations that I get my news from, just so people can understand?
Sure.
I mean, I get all of my news from independent sources, which are economically independent. So I think the best ones are the Real News Network. People can Google this. Democracy Now! Information Clearinghouse, and Counterfire. And these are 4 really solid news organisations.
Yeah, I definitely recommend them too. I get most of my information from the very same sources. So, Harry, when did your activism begin?
Well, I like to say that it kind of started in my heart when I was about 16, and it started in my actions when I was about 19. And sort of in between there, I sort of started becoming more active in what I was saying and starting to use my voice. And then, as I said, by the age of 19, I was doing street stalls, going to demonstrations, speaking out louder, and starting to begin my video journalism.
But why? Harry, why do people like you and I go and do these things?
I think it's because we've caught a glimpse of what actually really living is about. And I think it's about living a real life instead of living in a bubble. And, people call people like you and me activists. And it's a good word, because essentially the opposite, not to be an activist, is to be inactive, which is something that I certainly don't want to be. So that's good. for me, I mean, it starts when I started to find answers to questions which I wasn't getting from studying politics in the mainstream, listening to the news. And when you start exposing yourself to the information about what's really going on, you know, our foreign policy with regard to Israel and Palestine, for example, you become moved to action. And it's a never-ending train of action. You know, it's actually addictive in a way. And it's just carried on since then.
Definitely. I think once you start looking at the events that are actually happening in the world and what's happening around us and the way that the rest of the world views the British people, you can't help but to be an activist, because being inactive is no longer an option. Really.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what keeps you going, and how come for this long you've still been doing everything that you do?
What keeps me going is being connected with people that are passionate about doing the same thing. And, you know, you tip the iceberg when you begin being an activist or a campaigner, and you think, oh, are there any people I sort of like in this community? And then you realize actually that all of these people are much more like you, in fact, than the people that you've been living with normally. They're people who are much more in touch with things that you actually care about. And so what keeps me going is other people's actions and sharing the fight together. There's a quotation I'd like to read to back that up. It's by Noam Chomsky. There are no magic answers, no miraculous methods to overcome the problems we face, just the familiar ones. Honest search for understanding, education, organization, and action that raises the cost of state violence for its perpetrators. It's about being part of a movement.
Yeah, I agree totally. For me, I struggle with the fact that a lot of people around me don't actually care, but there's so many people who do the same thing, and I feel, being 16, I feel blessed that I have people like yourself and other people who are part of the same struggle, who are around to educate and to inspire me to do more.
Yeah, I think we all sort of inspire each other, and it's absolutely amazing that at the age of 16 that you're using your voice in such a constructive way. It's totally inspiring for even people who have been an activist for decades. It's inspiring, I can tell you.
Thank you, Harry. It's beautiful how there's so much positivity in what we do. Everybody is inspired by each other, and that's not something you find in anything else that you're going to do.
Exactly.
I understand that you're currently making a documentary on Islamophobia, so would you like to tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. I decided at the beginning of the year that my next film had to be a hard topic, and for me at the time was right to make a film about Islamophobia, which is anti-Muslim prejudice, anti-Muslim bias, and this sort of thing. And I mean, in terms of the issue, it goes from everything from sort of street violence against Muslims to the intellectual malignment of Muslims at the back of the Guardian newspaper, for example. It's everything involving this, basically. So I'm making an investigative full feature television-style documentary about the issue, speaking to ordinary people rather than spokespersons about the issue, and trying to sort of right the wrong in terms of what people are saying about Muslims, basically.
Well, I think what you're doing again there is very admirable, and you're doing something that needs to be done.
Thank you. I hope.
So thank you for being with us today, Harry.
It was a pleasure.
And hopefully we can have you on air again sometime to speak about another hard-hitting topic, because I know that's what you like talking about.
It is.
Okay, then I'm going to go on to a short nasheed break now, so I'm going to leave the listeners with Try Not to Cry by Sami Yusuf.